again.
Yeah.
Want to do it again? Okay.
Call it to order again.
We'll call to order, please. Take an attendance.
Chair Page?
Present.
Commissioner Meyer? Present. Commissioner Richards? Present. And Commissioner Doyle?
Attending remotely via teleconference.
Thank you. That concludes roll call.
We have a quorum, and we have, that will not be in attendance, Commissioner Mohander, Commissioner Francisco, and Commissioner Dean. Then acknowledgement. I'll read that this time.
Excuse them.
Oh, yes. And I make a motion to move to excuse them from the meeting tonight. Right. So we'll start with the land acknowledgement and then move on with the meeting. Land within Snohomish County, we acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people's stories and voices to form a more just and equitable society. Labor, we must acknowledge that much of what we know of this country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horror of transatlantic trafficking of their people, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We're indebted to their labor and their sacrifice, and we must acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be felt and witnessed today. Commissioner Doyle, if you can't hear us, can you just let us know?
Yes, I will. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. And I'd like to get a motion to approve the March 15th, 2023 meeting minutes. Been moved and seconded? I think I did. And I was sleeping over there. Comments. I know I'm whispering, so.
No, you're really quiet.
Public comment.
Do I need to be recognized or anything? I don't.
Do I do that, or do you do that? I do that? Okay. Well, we want to recognize City Council Member Steve Woodard for public comments.
Thank you. Although today I'm here as a resident. It's actually twofold, so I guess I am here as a council member. I do that second. I'm actually here first as just a resident to put before the DEIC an opportunity, if you are so moved. I have only sent this information so far to your chair, who hopefully can get that to the cities and get that to all of you, which this is an opportunity to, I volunteer with a group called Snohomish County Black Heritage Committee. Some of you may be very familiar with them. They put on what's called the Nubian Jam. It's usually in Everett, and it will be there again this upcoming year. It's the 31st annual Nubian Jam. It's a one-day event of just everything you can think of, from music to performances, dance-wise. I think there'll be a 3-on-3 basketball tournament this year, lots of vending booths, and really just a chance to come together as a community and center around music, jam, and community festival. So, as a resident, I come to you to see whether or not the city or the DEI and the city together would be interested in supporting this cause this upcoming year, but really as far as I'm concerned. But today I'll just ask for it this year. The package is pretty bare bones in terms of what it is you get from there. We have multiple levels, everywhere from presenting to platinum down to patron. And it lists what that is, so I'll pass this around, I don't need this back. I would encourage this group to consider coming in at the lowest level, patron. Just get your name and your logo associated with the event and all the event flyer and, what do you call that, publicity. See if you like it, and then see whether or not in the future years if you want to move up that scale. So I'm going to pass that way. You're welcome to do what you got to do, but I would be happy to answer any questions about the Nubian Jam. Granting you might be hearing it for the first time, and then I have a second that I will share once we put this to bed. I'm not looking for a vote today, just looking to put it in front of you all as you work through however you're gathering your opportunities to consider and vet.
Well, the question I have is, you can speak to, is I know there's two types of support. There is actual dollars sponsorship, and there's what they call partnership. If you can kind of speak to what that means and what it kind of looks like, or what it could look like for the city and or the DEI group, give us an understanding of.
Yeah, and I apologize, I just realized I didn't talk about partnership. So what I'm sending around right now is in essence sponsorship. And patron is probably why I focus on that one, because there's an easier way as well to get on the patrons list. And what I will do, if you don't mind, is I'll answer that question by using VOA as the example. VOA is a nonprofit, means we have no money. And so what we've done is we've dedicated my time to the planning committee. So this planning committee meets fairly frequently, about every other week right now, but as we move into late May or early June, I think it will switch to every week, where different committees you could be on to bring this whole thing to a sense of reality. So as a partner, you don't have to pay because you're donating your time. So in my case, we're paying a lot, but not in the sense of a cash deposit or anything like that, but it's people power time. So I'm on this committee, day of, you're there all day, you're setting up the day before, help them close it down. There's all kind of ways in which to get involved. Also chances to meet other folks who are doing this type of work in the region. It is, I would say, county-wide, but mostly Everett-centric right now, but always looking to grow. So in that regard, difference would be sponsorship is there, money in and out, versus partner, you're actually up in there getting some work done with us. I, again, serve as a partner organization through VOA. You'd be more than on the flyers and all that if you said, oh, I would donate some time and go that route to get the DEIC or City of Mountlake Terrace. Separate path, so. And you can do both, right? So you want to and donate your time.
Questions from anybody?
So if you are a Facebook person, it's Snohomish County Black Heritage Committee or Nubian Jam. Either of those will pull up to their Facebook page and you can see last year's video, just to give you a better glimpse at what it is. It's truly an opportunity to get your name out there throughout the day. I think we had over 1,000 people participate in one way, shape, or form. You move up the list in terms of how to be in the space. You could actually get a booth and stuff like that. Technically, our partners, now to think about it, do get a booth as well. So technically, you come in as a silver. Is that the next one up? Above the patron? Silver. Yeah, so silver, yeah. So technically, you get a booth. That's something we're trying new this year. If you didn't want to pay, you could do partner and still get a booth. We'll say it is all day, though, so I don't recommend you get a booth this first year. Get a half booth. I'm not sure how this is going to work.
Quarter booth.
Because I'm like, that's a long day if you're not selling something. But it is a beautiful experience. I know you are a big fan and a big part of the family in that regard. You have folks on the mission that can speak to its value, and if it's, say it is, hyping it up.
Yeah, I know we went for the first time, Ellen and I, last year. We had a good time, Got a lot of good stuff from the vendors,
Yeah. I worked the parking lot the whole time and had a blast, and that includes actually set up. I did all the heavy work and heavy lifting to get it together, stayed in the parking lot, and then I still had a blast. I did not know we did it like that. I'm very proud of it. Who knew?
And so the date for this is July,
It's on there somewhere. It's somewhere in July, like 23rd maybe? Something
yeah, somewhere. And okay. And does it, indicate on the form a drop dead date in terms of when?
I would say sooner rather than later if you want to get the most out of the publicity. We're still signing off on T-shirts and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, May 31st.
And the day before, but then you get hours worth of notoriety. Just get in early and all the publicity.
There are 4 of us here. I said, there are 4 of us here. We can do anything we want.
Point that out to the council.
Sorry, are you done with your?
Yeah. So if you want to, let me finish the second half and then I'll leave, and then you all can have a discussion without me, and then that might be a little more, less weird for you. Because I don't want to dollars in there and stuff like that. Okay, I appreciate that. I'm sitting here going, oh, that's right, I'm coming as a resident, but, now I'm gonna switch gears, put the council hat back on. And now I'm gonna turn and face you, so you can just get my bald spot, Sam. Hi. I'm sorry that all 7 of you aren't here. So the other 3 will just have to feel what I'm trying to say, which is just to say how proud I am of all of you. And actually, I could say that very distinctly to the 4 of you, because you 4 are original members. I really, as you all, for your various reasons, are transitioning off. I transitioned off the library board. I transitioned off the Parks and Rec board, so it happens. I understand that. But I also want to make sure, just because I don't think you all can really appreciate how uncharted territory you all have covered, how much ground you've covered in terms of the uncharted. The Arts Commission, as we learned, was created before I was born. Putting that out there. So they've had, 53 plus years to get their rhythm underneath them. The Parks and Rec Commission are, I think, somewhere right behind that, so they're easily in the 40-year-old range. And that's to remind you, we had a library board, which is to say sometimes we sunset these, but it's pretty rare to be able to say, hey, I was on an original council, or in this case, an original commission, as it was trying to get its sea legs under you. I don't know if any of you listened to our talk on Saturday, but on Saturday at our retreat, I think we had our first honest conversation about how we didn't even set you up to win. We didn't. We said, hey, good luck. Make sure it's going to happen. Do everything you want, and we'll be here for you. And then as you would come to us, we would say, no, you would do that? No, I don't think you would do that. Did you? No, come on, don't do that. Which is a mixed message, right? And we also gave you probably an improbable task: move diversity issues and equity issues forward 1 meeting a month at a time. It's real difficult to do, needless to say, because these things build upon each other, doesn't stay inside these structured minutes, and so as things pop up, it's a little bit harder to do, and we recognize that. That said, we stand firm that you want your government to be slow. As our city manager will point out, anything that has a right to take your civil liberties away, you want them to move slow. And you're kind of caught in that process. Now, that said, I just want to make sure that you all understand, not just Steve Woodard being proud of you, but the council and this whole damn city should be proud of you. You all have done some amazing things in COVID. You literally were created during COVID. You hadn't been in this room until like almost 2 years of being together. And yet you all still came together, and you're still here. There's a lot that's really enough to be celebrating. It's like, how did you create yourself remotely, figure out how to move a city forward together, and then transition back into this space here? And it's going to have its tensions and all that. As I pointed out to the council, you initially realized the first one, which is we want to do something, but we also need to meet. And so I just want to make sure you all realize you all brought some amazing voices to this city that maybe would have made their way here eventually, but they didn't. You all made sure they made their way here, but you had to do that on top of your meeting. which again creates this really interesting, dynamic. And if I remember one of your colleagues, telling you that they thought, well, were you afraid to have a meeting, so you just keep bringing us voices? It's like, no, we're bringing you both. But you can see how you can lose sight that that was huge. You all did something I don't think the city's done in a long time, which is actually open up a mic to the world and say, what do you all have to say? You know, how are you experiencing our city? Because it's your city, and how can we make this a better place for you all? And if people showed up for that, again, that's friggin' huge. That I can come to you and say, hey, a couple dollars and you can get your name out there. I do not want to lose sight that you all have a logo. You know what, you really don't have anything without a logo. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but in this day and age, if you can't market yourself, you don't exist. And you've made sure, not only do you exist, but you did it in a very thoughtful way. If nothing else, it took several months to get it done, and that makes it thoughtful in my book. But it was genuinely a thoughtful process. You've also pushed this city to do things that we were just doing rotely. Well, we did this, this thing must happen. And I'm going to point out that that's the proclamations. I don't think a proclamation has ever made it into the hands of somebody who was proclaiming. And you all pushed us to not only get them out there, but to go out there. And that matched yesterday's experience, or was that the day before? We had like 5 proclamations, and we actually had people come in to us, but it was this idea that it should do something. And again, obviously, that was all you all doing that and getting a council that had gotten used to these things, but really even questioned ourselves. What the hell are we doing this for? Case in point, we did not do a Black History Month proclamation. I intentionally didn't say anything, and then I let it go because we didn't do anything for Women's History Month. And I thought, oh, we don't do it every year. But then when we got to this month for AAPI, and our mayor brought it up, I went, what the hey? Oh, so apparently we do this every year. But again, that's examples of, these aren't things that we necessarily would have even thought to consider doing, and now we're sensing a loss by not doing certain things. And again, that's you all holding our feet to the fire. I think you know, and I'll wrap it up here, just to make sure that we don't just kind of throw all these additive things, that you are actually doing some transformative work as well. If you think about multicultural work, there's additive. We got Taco Tuesday across to transformative. We're actually figuring out how to source the materials to make the tacos on Taco Tuesday. You all are getting to that source piece, not use the trespassing rule or ordinance that we created. I don't think anybody in this room would be surprised that I supported it and thought we should move forward with it in place. And I think rightfully so, you all were here to review that work and are in the process of reviewing it. And I think that that's an absolutely important function and should be pieces of this commission's responsibility. And then at the end of the day, you all now have money, you know, which is to say that that's great from where I sit, not just because I pushed for it, but because didn't give you power, can we at least give you purchase power? And that's what you now have, which also now you're doing things that haven't happened in the past, which is talking to the other commissions and actually trying to figure out how do we commission things and move them forward collectively speaking. And all that are huge. There were other things I thought to just list and write it down for you all, and I decided against doing that because you have your own memory. But again, I just needed to make sure that you knew, you know, I'm here to ask for money as well. Side of me is not here, just the council side of me is just here to make sure you all knew how important the work you have done, you'll continue to do, and just how grateful we are that you decided to get involved at all. And I'm hearing that you'll learn how many more people are interested in all the commissions, so if anybody is holding on to any sense of guilt, like, oh my God, the place is going to implode, I promise you it won't. The city's been here a long time, and even if it were to implode, we would not be able to put this on this commission. So in that regard, don't hold that too close, but you are yourself. You do what you got to do to motivate yourself, but just know that the city is proud of what you have done and proud of the fact that you have set up whoever the next set of commissioners are to be in a much better place, beginning with you fought hard for your consultant, and that person we are still trying to find, but we will get that person. This time I mean it, I'll stop talking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam, as well.
She wrote a comment for you.
All right, I'm gonna head out the door, because I've been in meetings all day, and this is your meeting.
Thanks. Apparently so.
I still have to remember, but I did it anyway.
He's just the tallest one in the room.
I don't want to waste any time. That's the lowest level, what was it, patron? Is that right?
Are we interested in patron, or are we interested in and/or, partnership? Because obviously, that takes some work.
I don't know that we have enough people here tonight who would want to volunteer. I know if it's the July 23rd date, I'm out. Have people who would want to be there the whole day?
No, anyway, I don't think we're asking anybody to be here the whole day. We're not even the whole day for Terrace.
We've got the money, let's use it. Yeah.
And I think that on a personal basis, whether you want to represent the city, DEI, or yourself, if you're available and you want to connect with them, we might. I don't know. It depends upon what we're going on at home and stuff. We don't have two little kids running around. So we might be able to throw a couple of hours at them. I think anything will be appreciative, especially if we're going to be sponsoring them. I want to talk with my back to Sam. Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a motion on the floor? Yeah. There's a motion on the floor that we sponsor Movie and Jam at the patron level. Do I have a second? And we have a second. Everybody feel comfortable with that? Any questions? Yeah.
I'll second
All right,
that.
it's been moved. Okay. And so with that in mind, all in favor? Aye. Nay, so be it. We'll contact city.
You just did. I got it.
That's what I figured. That's why I did that little lean to. Okay, thank you, Hannah, for that. Let's see, moving on. I think, I'd like to turn it over to, our guest, our city manager, Jim, and we'll turn it over to Andrew to, I know we missed out on you last month, and I apologize for that, but you guys both have the floor, so we'll start off with you, Jim.
Go ahead, Andrew. I'll wait till the staff report at the end.
My name is Andrew Opwick. I'm the new events coordinator for the city of Mountlake Terrace. I've been in this role now for 2.5 months. I'm hitting the ground running. Just want to kind of introduce myself and really what my role is right now within the city, and to make sure that we are able to support the commissions that are functioning within the city, as well as the events that are happening. My current primary focus is the events that we do have running, which is National Night Out, 3rd of July. We did add 2 movie nights this year in the park. They'll be at Terrace Creek Park on July 13th and August 24th.
Creek Park is Candy Cane.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So that field is where we'll do it.
Right.
So National Night Out again?
August 1st.
August 1st, okay.
6 to 8:30. Both movie nights will start at 7:30, utilizing the shade from the hillside and be able to get down there. And also our tree lighting this year. I am meeting, or I've now met officially with every commission to kind of let everybody know my role here is to really support the vision that each commission has when they want to think about event planning, outreach, and stuff like that. I am not going to take it over from a commission, so I would need to have a clear vision of really what a commission wants, what their intention is, and really what they want the impact in the community to be. And that's where I can come in to kind of help support and offset that for marketing, for general commission aspects, to permits if we need to apply for them. That's stuff that I can take on as long as there's a clear vision from each commission that is wanting to do something. It's hard for me to take on an event if I don't understand what the full scope is and the intention of the event. So with that, I'm just letting you guys know that I am here to support. I want to be able to do what I can within the bandwidth that I have. Definitely hit the ground running, and I can be a resource, or you guys can reach out to me if you have questions as far as events go. But anything that does get brought to me to actually put into action needs to be from the commission as a whole, not an individual. So that's really where I am right now. I want to see, especially this commission grow. I do have a huge passion for this work that you guys are doing. And so any way that I can help support you guys in moving forward, and the next commissioners as well, to come in to make sure that this group does succeed in being able to reach the community that we are in here and the very diverse community that Mountlake Terrace is. So, you guys, do you have any questions for me right now on general base level or things that you guys want to throw out there? Go for it.
Figure out what movies are gonna play for movie night. Do you know those?
July 13th will be Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and August 24th will be The Sandlot. And those are actually both already sponsored fully, and so Brighton Elementary, or Brighton School, is sponsoring the August 24th one as a back-to-school event. So they'll have stuff out there, and then we started a sponsorship level this year as community sponsors, and we have a good turnout so far of businesses and organizations that have sponsored that. And so I've set that aside so they can get recognition at an event individually, and so they'll have their branding on those banners that are going up, marketing materials, and just kind of a shout out to them as local businesses that are supporting events happening in Mountlake Terrace.
Any other questions?
I'm curious how commissioners or boards, I guess, can get involved, or commissions can get involved with what you're doing.
So previously, boards and commissions have been able to come out and have either booths or help volunteer at different events with recognition at it. I'm going to keep that as a part of the event. I don't have expectations that every board and commission is going to attend every event. It'll be put out there to each board and commission as events come up for aspects in which they would want to be able to support, serve in, and be able to be a part of it. I know last year at National Night Out, DEIC was part of the booth aspect of it, and so we can definitely set that up. We have 3 allocated booths for city departments at. Then our movie nights don't really have a ton of stuff going on there, but as events expand, to be able to try to make sure that we can connect with the different commissions that are active and trying to make sure they are able to support as needed. A lot of like Parks and Recreation is doing a lot more in the actual like revamp of the parks and cleanups and stuff like that, so that's kind of how they're involved in the events aspect of it. But with the current events that we have going on, it's more of just making sure you guys have a presence there, are able to be there, have your name badges on, and be able to be recognized as members of the community that are doing work in the community as a commission and board. So, but yeah, if you guys are interested in wanting to have your booth, definitely talk to me. Right now I have it allocated as just a boards and commission tent, and we'll kind of have people rotate through and just be present for National Night Out especially, just because that's a primary local event for us. We don't really get a ton of people outside of Mountlake Terrace. 3rd of July, we definitely span a little more, but with the modified scope this year with the Hall Creek Restoration Project, it's going to be pulled back a little bit as far as being able to have booths out there. Next year, the hope is to be able to really push that again, launch it into a bigger scope.
What I'm thinking about is, you know, all those things that you mentioned that you're working on, you know, the city's working on, can all these different commissions and boards be involved, you know, put some time into that. What is your role going to be? And I think Carissa said, like, she said, I was kind of thinking the opposite. I can't remember exactly the way you said it, but it, you know, but I was thinking, well, what role will you play in things outside that scope to get, you know, the things that maybe the commissions and boards are working on, other than just presence? In other words, you know, like I wrote, you know, would you be involved with, or how would you be involved with collaboration between the different boards and commissions to do things? For instance, like the arts and DEI, because I envision our group, kind of like what Steve was saying, you know, we have created a new thought process for entities that were already in place, you know, and we don't necessarily, for instance, we need to, you know, talk to you guys about sign, you know, I think, or the sign at the pavilion, you know, a welcome sign. And we're like, okay, so that's what we do. We create that thought that maybe you should do that. But then they have to go get the sign, not us. When I think of the event coordinator, I kind of wonder what your involvement gonna be to kind of help push, encourage, support all these different groups, kind of thinking almost as one while still maintaining their identities for the sake of the city, if you know what I mean.
So on the signage aspect, I don't see myself necessarily playing a role in that. If we were going to have an event.
That was just an example, yeah, just an example.
If two different commissions, Arch, DEIC, wants to, come together and say, we want to have this event and we both want to put it on, I would be able to be there to listen to the vision and scope, let you know, these are the ideal parks, these are the ideal locations, this is what's going to go into it, this is what the financial investment would have to be, and these are the permits and stuff that we're going to have to acquire. So that way I would have to work hand in hand with each one of the boards and commissions to make sure that whoever's on point for each part of that event can still be in line with me. So I'm, right now, food trucks, big, going back and forth, to make sure that they have the correct business license to operate in Mountlake Terrace. Just because they have been in Mountlake Terrace doesn't mean they have a business license. If they're with one of our events, we need to make sure that they are have their business license, we have their certificate of insurance, we have their background to make sure that they are fully covered to be at an event of ours. If they operate somewhere on a street doesn't mean that they already have the qualification to be operating. I'll be able to come in and kind of work with you once a vision is established to create an event or an experience. The action items as far as being able to put things up, install, engage, those are all things that could be brought to me as a commission if we're trying to have some form of awareness aspect of it, and that's where I can also support.
I think that, and I like that, I think that all the commissions and boards need a single advocate that can help them make sure that if one group comes to you with an idea of an event, you're tuned into all the other different commissions and boards and say, well, groups, and say, you should talk to this person and this person and this person, because I think that this project you got sounds good, but it can sound better if right now that advocate I don't think exists in the city. People do their own thing and they're like, well, why didn't you could have,
With my role being still so new, we are able to kind of mold and work with the city manager's office to really see what the investment is. With outside organizations coming in and applying for special event permits too, and finding out, are there ways that we can have our boards and commissions engage with them for events if they're trying to do a tree planting awareness or anything like that. We have people and resources to be able to connect with them, so there is city representation at these events.
And the communication process, what does that look like?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Communication process, I think each board and commission needs to work with their liaison. So, and not contract Andrew directly just because he's got a bunch of stuff going on, so kind of fit in that workflow. So, for instance, for this commission, for right now, I will be your liaison. It won't be long-term, but it will be right now. We have another staff member that has expressed an interest to do this, be your liaison. She, however, is buried in audit and financial documents. So when she gets that all untangled and done, she will be your liaison. The other thing that just occurred to me that I think is a great idea is each of the liaisons meet on a monthly basis, so that the liaisons themselves can discuss what each committee wants to do and find out where those connections are, and include Andrew in that discussion. So I think that simplifies the information flow and we'll get things done.
Okay.
Any other comments?
So I guess I'm wondering, as you are you able to kind of look at some of these things from a DEI lens and say, like, what can I do in this event that makes it more accessible, or is it open to people who are ASL learners, right? Like, different things like that. Like,
the answer is yes. One of the big talking points when I was going through my interview process was make sure community impact and community engagement and how those go hand in hand and have to work together for an event to happen. Right now, a lot of our events don't have a whole lot of, I wanna say, hurdles for people to go through to be able to engage in. That doesn't mean they're not there. There's not a lot of resources needed at this current point. And I say that very liberally because there's always resources that could be utilized for an event. But for like ASL right now, we don't have a lot of interpretation services needed for these events, just based on how they're set up. A lot of them are visual performance based, and so we don't have that. As we move forward into more song communication and just general outreach, those are going to be very where do I want to look? Going to be evaluated to that level to make sure that we do have resources, that we are being able to then translate what our flyers are to make sure they can go out to the schools and be properly interpreted, to make sure that it's saying the correct information as it goes out. Google Translate's great for some things, it's not the perfect for everything. Also working with, we have the family services from Edmond School District coming out for National Night Out, being able to work with them also to make sure that we're visible in the schools for our events and make sure that the families have those resources. And if they don't know that we're able to offer something like our scholarship program, that we can do that kind of stuff as well. I will be working continuously through this year and moving into next year with the work plan to make sure we do bring in more multicultural aspects to our events and being able to try to intertwine that as a whole. Right now, performance-wise, it's one event, National Night Out, that we could look at that, and so if that's something that we have a group that's interested in doing something, we do have a stage presence that we can allow for that to happen. We just don't have it at this time, and that doesn't mean we're against it. We don't have the ability to do it, it's just I don't have it on my docket right now. Just trying to get everything running this summer and make sure that we can evaluate, and this being the first year that I get to oversee these events. Being present and serving at events is different than being able to really impact the scope and the vision and what happens at these events. So it's going to be this year, take it, reflect on it, come back and say, these are things that we need to improve on. Having one central person for events is going to be very important this year to be able to take that information in instead of having so many people having lead roles for events. I think that's going to be a huge change that we're going to move through together as a city. Be able to get more of the board's voices heard in those feedbacks for when they do attend events and let me know this might be something I don't see and something that we need to really address moving forward.
But as we move forward, that you do feel comfortable coming to us particularly, right, and saying like, this is my event. What else can I people, or what can I add to this that does bring in that multicultural? I think we're here.
That's the scope is moving forward next year, you know, each year try to add something different, bring in something new that we don't have. So I will rely on the boards for sure, especially this one, to give insight to things that I may not be aware of, may not see, may not have on my radar.
Any other comments? All good comments, good questions.
Full time.
Okay, we'll turn it over to you.
Did you want me to go now or wait till the staff report?
What do you prefer?
We'll go, I'll wait till the staff.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Andrew? All right, we're moving on, to any subcommittee reports. Or just kind of like update on some things that are going on. As far as policy is concerned, Terrace and I, had a chance to, meet with the chief as well as the city attorney. And, why don't you share with the group what you got out of that? You know, I mean, not, you know, I mean, you know, just, I know there's a few detailed things which, you know, we don't have to get into, but just how you felt coming out of that kind of, I think we met for like almost an hour, you know, with them, and,
I felt like I got a new understanding of the policy and care of all of the like stuff. So it definitely came away from it like, okay, there's this and just so but I think we kind of ended it, if I recall right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because it was a little while ago, but one of the things that we talked about that I had like was that about going back through a lot of the documents and changing pronouns, because you can't just change it in one, you have to like change them all. So I felt like that was a worthwhile endeavor. But talking about maybe do that or something.
Right. Right.
And then I think we did have a really good conversation about the sections of that policy that we were kind of uncomfortable with. I think they didn't quite understand or see.
Mm-hmm. Hillary, yeah.
I feel like they both came away with a different. Interpreted. They like or. And then we had a good conversation too, just about like what you consider to be annoying or intrusive or whatever, right? Like, and how people can weaponize that and because barbecue next to them are playing music that they don't. Did have some kind of detailed. I don't know where things are at now, and I was just thinking about that. Like, I'd like to circle back to that.
Yeah, you know, my feelings were the same. You know, I came out of it, I remember telling my wife, I said, wow, you know, because I actually, if you remember, I apologized to the attorney about, you know, being so emotional, because I thought she was not on our side at all. And I came out of there realizing that, you know, she was more sympathetic or empathetic of what we felt and why we felt that way, and that changes should be made, you know, and the whole, you know, pronoun thing, you know, what she said was brilliant, you know, make an amendment to the ordinance saying, you know, and she explained, like she said, what all the whereases means and whatever, and how, you know, how we can, and she said she'd do it, you know, how the whereases would explain why going forward, you know, all documents that the city put out, you know, will do what we say needs to be done with pronouns so that it covers, and then, you know, if we can get someone to, you know, I think she mentioned like a student, you know, somebody that, you know, an intern, you know, something that can go through documents and just work on fixing them, knowing that from that day forward with the amendment, that part of it is fixed, you know, and then the whole idea about the, you know, just where the property that the ordinance covered, she's like, just take it out, you know, we could just take it out, you know, we already got one for it, we don't need a second one, and it was just, wow, so where it stands is, you know, I made my notes and everything, and, because she sent the thing over to us, and I haven't sent it to her because I wanted us, I thought we'd be able to do that last month, to see where we was sending things, so, but she did send it over and say, hey, you know, just put everything in there that you want, you know, blah, 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 and, you know, we'll start working on the things that are fixable, so, I mean, it was I learned, like, you know, she explained how proclamations lead to ordinances that leads to policy, and, you know, and it just made sense why sometimes you have proclamations, because they lead to these other things that lead to these other things that leads to the laws of the town, you know, and so they're all important, you know, because sometimes we ask, well, what the heck are we doing proclamations for? Well, they kind of lead to other things, you know. So that was kind of cool. So that will be hopefully a wrap-up, you know, to report on. It's maybe next month, you know, with, you know, the group in terms of for understanding. That's policy. I think the public outreach. Sam, I got a question for you, and I apologize in advance because I've been dragging my feet. I've been meaning to reach out to you about Juneteenth. I know you're involved in that last year. I think you're probably involved in it this year. I know Level is not the one that's sponsoring it this year because Linwood is, and that's per an agreement that I think a lot of people wasn't aware of, some were. Are you in any, and if you're not, that's fine, are you in any position to speak to Juneteenth and involvement? Because I saw that Level is one of the sponsors for the Linwood Juneteenth celebration. I talked to Darius, happened to run into him the other day at the drugstore, and we talked for about an hour. I had to wait for my medicine. Well, maybe not an hour, but he really tuned me into a lot of things. And if not, that's fine, because I know I'm putting you on the spot, and I apologize for that.
I haven't actually heard anything about it. I was going to actually ask Steve about it. Because I was thinking it's about that time of year, and I was involved in it last year and the year before. And I looked online and I haven't seen a thing about it. So I don't know if Donnie's just not doing it this year, but I haven't seen any public relations stuff about it at all. So I'm assuming it's not happening. That was my assumption, but Steve would know.
Well, I'll tell everybody what I know. There originally was going to be apparently another Edmonds Juneteenth, and I had gotten an email from Steve, and then probably like 4 hours later, he deleted it, and because he found out that Linwood, which was, I guess, part of it last year, was having their own. And the reason why they were having their own was because the agreement that they made with the city council is that we would give Level these funds that they gave them last year with the condition that this was going to be a rotating event throughout the communities and not just at one, so that it would eventually build into a community thing. Linwood, Mountlake, Terrace, Edmonds, maybe Shoreline, that sort of thing. So with that in mind, they couldn't participate, and they had to have their own. And that's why, if you look at, and I'll forward it to y'all, the banner shows Level, as one of the sponsors for the event that's going to be in Linwood, because it's not going to be one in Edmonds. And so I think there was some little bit of what, and some people backed off, others backed on, and so there's a little bit of confusion. Those in the know knew, those that thought they were in the know found out they didn't know, and now they don't know. So, yeah.
Believe it or not.
I mean, it is. It's just not happening in Edmonds. It's just not happening in Edmonds.
Okay.
And I'll send you the email so you can forward it to the commissioners. And so I asked Darius, because, he was like, well, why don't y'all come and as a group, because he said, it is, they're going to be just like Nubian Jam, is going to be other groups there, DI groups there, so, and take part, but he didn't explain what that looks like. So I sent an email to him asking him, well, what does that look like, because he said get a booth, or he said get a table. And I'm thinking, whenever I'm seeing a table, I'm thinking like dinner, get a table, 8 people, that one thing. And then it dawned on me, this is an outdoor event. He's probably talking like a booth or something like that. So, but I'll send that out to you. But that's what's going on. I just didn't know if you knew more than what maybe I knew, and I found this out over the weekend, this past weekend. Okay. Other outreach things so that's Juneteenth. I think that hopefully I'll get some information ASAP. Otherwise, we might just be visiting, because that's going to happen before our next meeting. So I think that we also, I think, should be tuned into participation, and this is just me, I'm not telling anybody what to do, so I apologize. But we do have, city does have Tour de Terrace coming up. We do have a banner that does not have our logo on it, you know, so, and I have put in a request to get a banner with our logo on it. So we really got two banners. Ain't no sense in one hanging out in the closet, you know, getting dust, because the one that we have, what's his name, put it together last minute for us, because so that we could be in the, what's his name? Ken Quartermarsh. He put it together, and all it said was Mountlake Terrace Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Commission. So, so we got that. I think it's sitting in the shed or something. So, I mean, we could potentially have two banners, which would be great, you know, and, in the parade. Got some chatter being in the parade, you know, it was maybe over beer or something. I'll tell you about some of the chatter we got, but it was all good. You know, but, you know, a lot of people were surprised to see us walking up the street with that banner. And some of those surprises I actually heard while I was walking up the street with that banner, so, and it was all positive. So it was, you know.
Something like, maybe like some sort of vehicle, like I'm thinking like the kids watching, like candy for the kids, like a fun vehicle or decoration, even just balloons, something like that to make it like.
Well, what we did was, we had the banner, and me and Sabora's daughter carried the banner, and Sabora was running back and forth, tossing candy and stuff to all the kids and whatever, you know, and,
Yeah. I know my kid would be pretty happy, doesn't matter what kind of truck.
What am I hearing here about Tour de Terrace from the group?
Absolutely do it. I will be gone, but I'll be watching it with my kids. I'm not gonna miss out on that.
Okay. So, I think that we'll reach out to the group, the Smiths, or whoever we need to talk to. That's one of the questions I was kind of referring to.
Everything you need, you should go through your liaison.
Okay, all right, got it. Liaison.
Whatever you need, and whoever that person is,
Okay, all right.
whether it's me or, in the future, Janella, that person will be able to coordinate and then tell you what is possible.
Okay, and I think also,
Your budget.
all right, and same thing with National Night Out. I mean, we had a booth. I know, for me, the highlight of being at the booth was, you know, a whole group of high school kids came over unsolicited and just started talking to us and did a little bit of ranting and raving, and, you know, but, you know, to them, our presence, and it wasn't just kids of color, it was like a mixture of kids, you know, and they had something to say. They did have something to say, and, yeah, so, that was for me the highlight of being at the booth. So, I think, you know, the whole idea of being able to have a booth again is, will be another learning experience of growth for us. That down on the liaison. What else I think? Education. Benita's at the cultural event, and hopefully that'll be another learning process, because, you know, we was asked to attend or be a part, but they had no role for us and didn't communicate over the last month what that role could be, you know, and that's why, you know, we're not there now, or could have been there at 6 o'clock and got back over here, because, you know, we just didn't know. High school. Yeah, you know, I mean, right, you know, so, you know, so that's an opportunity that can be improved upon. So that first one, it didn't sound like it had a lot of I don't want to sit there and say that over the screen, but they just didn't know what they wanted, you know, and I think from our point, we have to learn that when we want something from us or anybody else, we can't just throw it out there. We got to come with a plan, just like he said. You know, we got to come with a plan. You know, what's the impact going to be? What do you want? How do you want to do it? And then ask people to do it versus just throw stuff out there, because everybody goes that way, you know. All right. How about anybody else with, you know, I know, and the only reason why I did that, because I know the various subcommittees haven't been meeting, but things have been going on, so, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was tuned into what's going on. Also, I guess as far as policy for us, they did have, and I know Jim would speak to it, had a meeting with the RFP because that did go out. We did get some interest. Rohit, they evaluated those groups that were interested, and I'm not gonna steal his thunder, but it didn't work out, so, but Rohit was part of that. And all of the stuff for from Sergeant Parker and the 911, I think that was a success. That was a success, the way that went out and rolled out and whatever. So with that, we'll look to the commissioners and chair reports. If anybody want to speak to anything that they have been involved in since last we've met, around the horn, or anything you want to hear other than what's already been spoken to. Okay.
Anybody here go to the Step Up?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Especially, the title was the morning keynote speaker. I always blank on her last name. It's very, something tunnel. But there's a V, yeah, oh my gosh, it was so good. Transformational was the word that was thrown around a lot, and accurate. And, I heard that we did actually get the money through.
Oh, yeah, we would,
It was awesome.
Yep. We were listed as a sponsor. And the city actually got some, I don't know how that happened, but the city got a blurb too, I go on the site and, like, I said, City of Mountlake Terrace, sponsor, and I went a little bit later, and it said DEI, then went back to city, and so we both got perks and whatever, so it worked out, in the end, it worked out. Again, thanks for bringing that up, because I didn't even write it down, I forgot all about it. Right. And I think that's important. I think it's important that, and I know there was other staff that went, to the Step Up. And I think it's important that that's one of those things that we can't assume that city manager or the city clerk or the city council is going to remind people, listen, this is available for you to attend. We're going to front the cost for you as a staff member to attend this. This is important for your growth as well as anybody else's. And we have to be willing to have the voice. Say, hey, whether it's through the liaison or we do it in a public comment at a city council meeting or something, so that thought is there of the things that maybe they, like you said, they just maybe take for granted, not in a bad way, but just don't think about, and that's our role, and hopefully it's, as the city grows, we will grow in noticing things. Every time I talk to somebody else, a commissioner, DEI commissioner, or somebody outside of this thing, and they're telling me about things that they're working on or talking about, I'm like, doing, I didn't even think of that. You know what I mean? There's so many things that that you can founder off on, but at least there are things out there that, you can just speak to that, like Steve says all the time, that we have changed the city just because of things that we've talked about, not necessarily acting on, but because we've talked about it, they hear it. If you look on YouTube, we're not the only ones listening to this meeting. If you go on YouTube, you'll see, there are people, lots of people that go back and look at our meetings, because every time somebody views it on YouTube, it counts them, So our meetings are looked at, just because they're not there right now, okay? And that's important to remember. All right, I guess now we will go to you because our staff isn't here, unless anybody else got anything else they want to say.
So, for the time being, I will be your staff member, for probably next 3 or 4 months. Before, we're able to get the financial statements closed and, everything audited the way they ought to be. And then Janella, our finance director, has expressed an interest in taking over. She has an interest in the work that you're doing, and I think she'll be able to do that. I just want to give her a little bit of room for her primary duties. So, a couple things I wanted to mention. First, I think the city and myself personally have an interest in making sure this commission is successful. I think what Councilmember Woodard said earlier about not providing kind of the structure of how things work didn't help to get everything off the ground the way that it ought to have been. One of the things we're going to do is write a charter, which will lay out what what you do. So it's not, you're not going all different directions all the time, and it's part of that information flow piece. One of the things we did want to have done, or did do as part of that, was issue that request for proposal to try to get a consultant on board to help. The submittals that we received missed the mark, as the Commissioner mentioned earlier. So what I've done is I've reached out to GARE. I don't know if you're familiar with GARE, to try to find a consultant that would be able to do that. So what we're looking for is a charter and a strategic plan. So, you have the opportunity to focus your efforts, because you do volunteer. And that's the other thing I've said to every commission. I've tried to introduce myself to each one. Thank you for volunteering. I mean, this stuff isn't easy. No matter what commission that you are a part of, none of what you do is easy, and all of it's volunteer time, and you're here at 8:15 in the evening, after I'm sure you've all had very busy days, because you think this work is important. So I think it's important for me, the city as a whole, to just say thanks for taking the time to do it. So I've reached out to GARE. We will hopefully find a consultant that's able to do that work and sit down with you and with the city council. Because primarily what boards do is make recommendations to the city council on what they ought to do. But that being said, city council did authorize a budget for you and for all the other boards. So you do have some money to spend. Some of that will be coming out of, for the sponsorship that you mentioned this evening. Some of it will go towards the banner that you mentioned. We'll see if we can get that done. And a lot of that is going to go toward paying the consultant for your strategic plan. But that being said, keep in mind going forward that we don't know what the next budgets are going to look like. So you're going to have, that kind of thing. So when you're talking about sponsoring events, kind of keeping that in the back of your mind. You don't want to sponsor an event, support an event, and then not be able to the next time. That never feels good when you do that. So that's part of it. The other part, I really think, and not necessarily your council member liaison, because I know there's your liaison event tonight at the high school, but your staff liaison knows what you want to see, what you want to talk about, and they can put that on your agenda. So your staff will get the agenda ready to go and all the supporting documents for your next meeting. So you have something to look at, something to talk about, something to actually chew into. A couple other things, because it's coming up quickly. On June 5th, we are going to issue proclamations for Pride Month, and we're going to issue a proclamation for Juneteenth on the 5th. We got started a little bit late last month. That's why some of the things came at the council meeting toward the end of the month, even though it's Mental Health Awareness Month was one of them. But making sure we call out those things we think is important. The city as a whole thinks is important, and all the boards and commissions are members of the city team. You advise us on stuff, and make sure that we see things that maybe we wouldn't, and think about that as we develop plans, as we develop, especially the comprehensive plan. I think that's going to be a big one. And you all will chew into quite a bit. That's going to guide our growth for the next 10 years. So that's going to be important for this group to pay attention to and make recommendations on. Whether the council acts on those recommendations is something different, but I think that you all should have the ability to dig into that stuff, find stuff where, hey, we hadn't thought about that, and then work through your liaison. it just occurred to me, while we were sitting in here and you were talking earlier, that the liaisons don't necessarily talk to each other. I mean, they may, but that's in passing and it's happenstance. So having the staff liaisons have a meeting each month and would just set a day and say, hey, you know, this is what's going on here, so everybody's aware. The more everybody is aware, the more, you kind of know where you fit into the information flow, and that's how you get things done. So we'll be able to fix that, relatively quickly. Next, and this is gonna be a little difficult, but I think that, in time, it will strengthen the commission, not only this one, but others. Unfortunately, we have 5 members rotating off, that are not, requesting to be reappointed.
Mhm.
We only have 2 that have listed the DEIC as their first choice, and 1 that is listed the commission is gonna be shorthanded for the meeting. So we'll see what we can do about that, but I think providing that strategic plan will attract more people to do this kind of work because they know what they're gonna focus on. This is what we're going to be doing. This can really dig into, and it's not, you know, as great as conversations at the drugstore or wherever are great and do generate new ideas. You got to have kind of a direction if you're going to make a real impact. So I think that is going to be very beneficial long term. I think will attract people to the group. So that's kind of the update on that. Like I said, I did reach out to Gary. I haven't heard back from them yet, but when I do, I'll make sure that this group knows what's going on. Yeah. And then there's a couple other procedural things, like all boards and commissions. You have to do your OPMA training, Open Public Meetings Act, and your Public Records Act training. We're not going to do that until after July, until the new one's seated.
Is that annual or is that like a one-time?
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years?
Yeah.
We didn't do that when we first,
I thought we did.
I thought we did.
Yeah, okay. So, but for the new members.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we're not
I
gonna.
don't remember, we might need to do it again.
Stay awake through it to begin with. But it's a requirement of the RCW, so we'll be going through it again. And I think it's beneficial if the group goes through it together. It's kind of like a, exercise, for lack of a better word, because everybody hates it.
Wake up.
That's our records people and actually
Sorry,
find.
not all of us, not all of us. So that's kind of what we have coming up, and hopefully we can generate more interest. And if you know of anybody that's interested, recruit, you know.
Got a new one today.
Great. So, yeah.
How is that possible?
Well, no, because Rohit was a replacement, so he had to be reappointed. You know, it's kind of like,
Oh, in like a year,
huh?
in like a year?
Yeah, but yeah, he completed Gary's shift. So now, Gary's things would have ended, so, you know, right, yeah, mm-hmm.
You know, recruit, find people that would be interested in doing this work. I'm excited about the possibilities going forward, but I do think we need to provide the group, you know, strategic direction.
One of the things,
About an idea that might help a little. So Pride Month being next month, what if the city did just like a quick Pride event? Like it could just be like an hour-long thing. Like I know it's planning purposes, that's really quick to get the turnaround, but then like DEIC can be mentioned there and like say that they're recruiting, all that stuff. Like, especially if you do something really controversial like a drag queen story hour, people will come. That's not going well in the city of Arlington, so.
Yeah, we can go to the library for that. Probably not this year.
Yeah.
Just because of the timing, but I do hear that suggestion. I don't think it's you know, it would have to be a council decision, but your liaison, whether that's me or Janella or whomever, and we'll try to keep that person stable, so you know who it is, because like any requests, you send to your staff liaison, and then that person will disseminate those and get those.
that would be like communications things that we would want maybe to go to Ricky, it'd be the same thing through the staff liaison?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, to what you're thinking about, MLT News, everybody probably, well, I can't say everybody, I just know my household looks at it.
Yeah.
But, the idea, I mean, because the person that used to be the writer used to attend our meetings like every month. And everything we said turned up on MLT News. Now it's a different person because he left. But, just maybe if the city, gave them an update on the meeting, meeting the thing, with Andrew and you and what our involvement in the, Nubian Jam, stuff that I know in the past they would have printed. Would have been up in the news, and the fact that we need, some more commissioners.
So, yeah, more commissioners would be great. So, let me think through that a little bit, but I don't see why not.
Just
Gotta think a little logistics of it. Yeah.
do it like a news brief.
So we advertised on Facebook, Instagram, our city website, what's our other social media channel?
Several times,
Yeah.
because I've done I've done 3 posts on, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then it's also been on our main website page, and it's been a rotating thing, so.
So there's
Yeah,
been,
I've seen it. My wife, she signed up for a commission.
And we've emailed all the people who have expressed interest in the past.
so we, have 21, people that are gonna be interviewed by council. 17 of those are new applicants. So that's really good, across all boards. I think that the reason this commission only got 2, I think one of the reasons it only got 2, 3 for the third choice, yeah, is because we do.
Right.
And it's not,
This is so aesthetic. This is an aesthetic group, we don't plant trees, we don't, we don't put on plays, that's not our function, but that's not our function though,
But I think people recognize the
Yeah.
work is important.
Right.
They just wanna know, what am I going to be focused on?
Mhm.
And I don't, yeah, exactly. And I don't think that's the fault of this group. Again, I think it's, the way it was initially set up, there's no, all right, this is what we're doing, and that should have input, I think. Maybe this is a good thing, because it should have input for the people that are actually doing it. When you put together the plan, so the consultant will come in, and they'll talk to you, they'll talk to me, they'll talk to the city council, and put all that stuff together and say, okay, this is what we should do, and each of your tasks should fit under whatever this framework is. You can't do everything at once. Nobody can. Pick the most important thing, pick that off, go to the next one. So that's what I have, and I'll, like I said, I'll be joining you for the next several months, and, because I would rather Janella do financial statements. I don't want to switch roles with her. Not going to look at spreadsheets all the time. And that's all I have, so thank you.
You want to point out that Sam signed off? She said she had to leave early, so now we no longer have a quorum.
Oh.
I don't know how that affects things.
Well, the only thing left on the agenda is agenda considerations. So there's nothing to vote on.
So what would the group like to talk about next time?
Well, I think, I and I'll go first. I think that, we should firm up, our involvement in Tour de Terrace, because that's in July. I think that, we should, firm up, our involvement in Nubian Jam, because we're throwing some money there. I think that, Third of July, is that the movie?
No, that's fireworks. Down at Lake Ballinger. And I'm not sure, just because.
You can go before the fireworks.
And a lot of the area is gonna be cut off. Andrew said they were really scaling back the booths this year.
Oh,
Because, yeah, because where the fence is gonna go, where they're doing the channel, they're redoing the channel for Hall Creek. It's gonna take away a lot of that area.
That we, should be able to give an update to the group, that, we gotta get the group here, you know, to, you know, just where we are with, speaking with, Hillary with the ordinance, and because going forward, at some point, we're going to need to physically present, you know, our, ideas to the council, you know. So that's something that we
This
can,
is the trespass ordinance, right? Yeah, okay.
you know, and just for the record, I mean, she thought like the ideas that when we brainstormed would be win-wins. You know, that was like the big thing I got out of it. She thought she was like, they ain't gonna refuse this, you know, this sort of thing, the way, it was the things we was talking about, so, yeah. I mean, that's what I had written down. Anything else? You know, we're losing 5, I think that, we're losing 5 of you, so that's, huh?
Are you both hoping for back? You have another.
What?
You're not,
I'm here at 25. Yeah, we'll probably be here at 25.
Yeah, you and Benita are the two.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I think that,
That'll be our last meeting, that'll be your last meeting.
yeah, the next one. Okay, I can get all that on the agenda for you. Is there any information that you want from me to bring back?
The new members be known at that point, because
Could be. So the interviews are going to be June 13th and 14th. And the next meeting for this group is,
The third Wednesday.
Whatever day that is, we know it's not the 12th.
it'll be, June 21st,
You
yeah.
know, one of the things that I mentioned several times is that I don't know that the generic questions that are asked of commission and board, these applicants works for this group.
Okay.
You know, I think that for all the things that we've talked about, you know, about what makes this group successful, you know, that the vanilla questioning, of everybody's getting the same type of questioning. I think that it would behoove us if, you know, one of a couple of things happened. I wrote that in my message, you know, and that was just something someone outside the city that's involved in this mentioned, that either, you know, as a group, we get opportunity to at least see what the applicants write down their applications, you know, to see if, you know, if what they're talking about will give them the capacity to do what we're going to be doing going forward, and or, you know, we submit questions, you know, to the panel that we probably felt if we had been asked, maybe would have said something different, or we would have got a better idea, or they would have got a better idea of where our thought process was, you know.
So, you did have a question in your email about, whether, commissioners would be able to sit in the interview rooms?
No. It wasn't to sit in the interview rooms, it's to see the applications beforehand, you know, and then make our recommendations, you know,
So that won't happen. But I think that, if you have questions that you think might be good,
okay.
send them to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share those with council.
So can you all send that message to all the commissioners, you know, so that,
Oh, so everybody knows?
I mean, they may or may not, you know, you might get one question, you might get 10 questions, you don't have to use them all, but, you know, they would probably, I think they would have the same theme, you know, if folks know that they got an input, you know, those are going out and those are staying that, to make this thing work.
Yeah.
And there are different questions for each commission. I mean, it's not just a
It's not the
plain.
same ones, yeah.
They're, and
But
these are
we-
questions they used, I believe, for you guys or later. They're specific DEI.
I think if there are questions that you think would better help, just send them. I'll show them to council, whether they use them or not, it's up to them, but we can share it with them. I think so, but they would have been the same ones that you were asking.
I think it was, if I recall, it was, why do you want to be on a commission? What do you think you can do for the commission? And since we were new, you know, what do you think you can, you know, what do you think, I think the needs of the city might be? How much time can you, do you have, that was a question that bothered me. Do you have enough time to do this?
Right.
You know, and so the natural response was, well, how much time do I need? Well, and the response was, you can only meet once a month for 2 hours, so you need to be able to do that. You know, and I think that, you know,
Unfortunately,
is not correct.
no, but I think unfortunately what happens is, people join commissions and then just stop showing up. And that happens in a lot of cities. Here, it's not so much. You know, there's a lot of volunteerism here, which is great, but other places have been involved in that happens. I think that's why that question exists, but, yeah.
Y'all can send that out, you know, to the crew and, you know, hopefully you get some feedback.
Yeah.
I promise that you will,
I think
but.
we can.
Hey, let's, can I make a motion for an adjournment?
Yeah.
We can't, then I guess.
Yeah, good point.
He is gone, folks. So does that mean the meeting doesn't end? You gotta stay here since you said it. My boss always said, if you bring it up, you own it.
The meeting concluded at 8:35.
Yep.
All right. Good deal. It's nice to meet you all.
Likewise.